Welcome to Silva Linings Playbook. My name is Scott Silva. I'm here with my co-host and son, Marcus Silva. Hey, Marcus.
What's going on, everybody?
The idea for this podcast is we're going to talk about football. Marcus and I, we have these amazing long conversations about football from week to week, and I thought, why not share with you guys and see if you think it's as fun as I do?
Well, let's kick this off first of all, since we're talking about football. I know you guys see that Patriots logo above me there. That's not mine. We rep New York all day. We rep New Jersey. We rep New York. We do not claim New England. I just got back from a trip up there, and driving is terrible. So, love New York.
Fair enough. I've tried my hardest to get him to come on along on the same bandwagon I've been on, but he's his own man.
Well, we should go back to a part of the original thing that drew me to this beautiful disaster piece known as the New York Giants, and that was the Super Bowl, and I believe it was 2007. Um,
Okay. All right.
Being able to, the helmet catch, we don't. Everyone knows that. We don't need to talk about that.
We don't.
But being able to
Why?
see the effect that a sports team has on on your dad is insane. So to me, the New York Giants were something else because they were able to make a grown man have emotions I don't know if I've seen at a game, in a sports scenario. And I was just a little kid then, so I guess in a sense you could say me being the little troll I was that kind of kickstarted the
Are we
Giants'
gonna just
interest.
you're just gonna come out and immediately try to rile me up and gaslight me? Is that what this is gonna be about?
Gaslighting. I'm simply just stating what first piqued my interest in the New York Giants. And also, I was a little kid. On top of that, that was the first Super Bowl I really knew what was happening and what football was. So that also adds on to that, too.
Just describing that play and that ending of that game, it just brings back like it just happened. Just describing that play and that ending of that game, it just brings back like it just happened right now, like I'm watching it. Like that's such a visceral emotion of shock and disappointment, and one of the most unbelievable thing of that play is not the catch. As great as that was, and Rodney Harrison hanging all over Dave Tyree, it was the fact that Eli Manning escaped the arms of the defense who had him in their clutches and should have sacked him, and he got away and flung that ball. That,
Oh,
to
yeah.
me, was the best part of that play. And then he still had a score after that. So Plaxico Burress making that catch. At that point, the Patriots were finished. They were just in shock. They couldn't do it. But
And
anyway, we're here about talk about 2025. Gosh, damn, now I'm so angry.
yes, well, now you kind of get the last laugh because not that the Patriots have been too hot the past 3 or so years post Brady, but the Giants have been worse. For while the Giants were being good in the playoffs, winning Super Bowls when I was a little kid, they're like the Cleveland Browns were when I was a little kid. They are the butt of the joke. The only argument they really have for them is at least they're not the Jets, and that's a really not a great ceiling or a floor to start off on. So the Patriots are on the come up. Giants, I want to say they are, but I've also been saying that since we drafted Saquon when I was in high school, and not much has happened since.
Well, you didn't name our dog Barkley for nothing, so I'm still smarting from as someone who grew up in New York and didn't really get to watch the Patriots, although I am a Patriots fan. Since I was a kid, the Giants were my team, and for New York because my cousin rooted for the Jets. So in my house, you can't, as in this house, you can't root for the same team. We have to be able to root against one another in a game. So I'm a Patriots fan. He's a Giants fan. You heard the story. But I grew up in the era of Lawrence Taylor and Bill Sims and Harry Carson and Mark Bavaro and all those Bill Parcells Super Bowl wins and Bill Belichick as the defensive coordinator. So I am a Giants fan. That would be my second team if the Patriots no longer were an organization. I root for the Giants. So except when they play each other.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this year. We're going to talk about at least they're not the Jets. I was going to think
Well,
we would run down through all the games last week and see how it affected our fantasy football world. Let's talk about the Jets. I'm a huge Justin Fields fan, always have been. The Jets finally look like they have a quarterback. Garrett Wilson looks like he's going to be the top number one receiver as he should be. And their connections from Ohio State is evident. They still have some chemistry there. Uh, and Aaron Rodgers came and had his little revenge moment. And I love the New York Post headlines of, "Oh, now you can play." So that was kind of fun. But the Jets look like they might be interesting, although both Pittsburgh and the Jets defense is not so good. So as far as fantasy football is concerned, I would be avoiding both of those teams right now until they get their crap together.
yeah. Well, talking about Justin Fields, maybe it was a little irrational. Maybe it was just seeing him play against Penn State, which was a college team I followed a decent amount in high school, going to high school in the state of Pennsylvania. Um, that I thought he should have been the number one pick that year when Trevor Lawrence was, and I thought because I believe it was Urban Meyer who was his coach at Ohio State, I thought he might jump the gun and bring him down there. And given how things have turned out, no knock on Trevor Lawrence, but I don't know if the Jaguars would necessarily be in any different of a position than they are and have been since they were Saxonville, regardless of who they took that year.
Yeah. And what's funny now is that Fields is now with the Jets, and the Jets that year had the chance to draft him, chose not to, and now he's seasoned, and here he comes. He's ready to I think have a breakout year. And as far as a fantasy quarterback, the running option that he gives you for as far as points week to week is a great option, and those are the quarterbacks you want nowadays anyway. It's guys who can run and pass, and he's he's a thousand yard rusher as a quarterback in Chicago. So the Jets are hoping he's bringing some of that to them this year. And he did have a touchdown in week one, so on the ground, so not bad.
No, no, and I think that it's an interesting situation. Both New York teams, my Giants and the Jets, both their quarterbacks are via Pittsburgh. And they're both quarterbacks who, when they were let go by Pittsburgh, I was not too sure why. I thought that we hadn't seen the best of either of them. That's another team that's been in a little bit of an interesting space since losing their Hall of Fame guy, Big Ben. Haven't really been able to put the pieces together much. And I honestly feel like they gave up on two quarterbacks that still have a little bit left in the tank. Obviously, that wasn't really on display on Russell Wilson's end
We'll
this
get there.
past
We'll
week.
get there. We'll get there. Trust
Well,
me, I got thoughts.
but it was definitely a scenario.
And as far as the fantasy football goes, Brees Hall's definitely looking like an RB1, and he's playing at least in game one, which is always hard to judge because these guys didn't play in the preseason. But Brees Hall looked like Brees Hall. He looks like he's over his injuries. He's running free and fast. What do you think?
I mean, I had him on my fantasy team that in the league I actually had money on last year, and he did right for me when he's on the field. I think he's one of the best running backs in the league. I think being on the Jets, he's definitely been one of their highlight pieces these past few seasons. Through Sala,
And he's
through
playing for a contract this year, so
yeah, yeah, and no,
I would totally take Breece Hall. I'm fully bought in on him as RB1, not just for the Jets, but also could be for your fantasy team.
I mean, that game was very entertaining. Rodgers got his revenge. Rodgers may be somebody. Wouldn't pick him up yet. He's free in a lot of leagues if you need a quarterback. So if like for instance, Brock Purdy's hurt. So if anybody's got Brock Purdy, maybe Aaron Rodgers is the pickup this week. But the Steelers look, their defense is usually good. They didn't look good. The Jets defense is supposed to be good. They didn't really look that good. So I'm worried about them. The Jets offense looked balanced, but they came up short. Jets actually look like they have a quarterback. If you're a Jets fan, I think there's some hope.
No, for sure. I
And I'm
think
old, so I know all the Jets quarterbacks that go way back. I mean, I was a kid, Joe Namath was there, so I go through all of it. Not since like Vinny Testaverde or Chad Pennington have they really had somebody who looks like knows what they're doing. I guess Mark Sanchez did take them to a championship game, but it's been a long time since the Jets had somebody you could get excited about at quarterback.
no, I'm definitely very excited to watch Justin Fields play. I know I threw a little shade towards the Jets in the beginning, but honestly, there is none. I'm excited to see what they do this year. It's everyone likes an underdog story, unless you're a Giants fan watching the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Um, I, you know, happy to see what they do.
Yeah, I'm interested too in the Steelers. We've got families. We've got family who love the Steelers. What's up, chappies?
And
Um,
family that loves the Jets too.
and family. Hey, what's up, cousin Mike? Uh, that was an interesting game. It was entertaining for sure. I mean, with all the hoopla and soap opera-ness of quarterbacks switching teams, that was fun. But enough about those guys. There's a lot of games to talk about. The game of the week to me was the Monday night game with the Ravens and the Bills. And my thoughts at the end of the week is the person I felt worse for was Lamar Jackson because here's another close game with the Bills that they come up just short. And he had that play in the third quarter where he looked like he was going to be sacked for 20 yards and somehow got out of it and got a first down. It was the most amazing play that I've seen since maybe something Barry Sanders did. It was unbelievable. And for him to come up short and Josh Allen to be the stud that he was and that showing his MVP caliber quarterbacking, winning that game with a lucky bounce into Coleman's hands in the end zone. It was just heartbreaking for the Ravens. But they look like they're going to be good. But again, much like the Jets and Steelers, both of those defenses leave a lot to be desired.
I saw a graphic on Instagram the other day. If I could find the screenshot, maybe we could
Oh,
edit
we
that in.
can
But it
add it
was
in
a
later.
bunch of, it was a whole bunch of games that were completely dominated by Baltimore for at least the first two quarters, and then showing their final scores. And it's just, I don't know what it is. They have the clutch factor on paper, but it just seems when it comes game time, whether that's regular season in a high stakes game or playoffs, they can't pull it off.
Yeah, I don't know what it is lately in the last couple of seasons. Their defense at the end of games somehow gets lost and can't get off the field on third down. What a comeback that was. That was just unbelievable.
Oh
That was
yeah.
a great game. It's a great game. I mean, out of there, that looks like for fantasy, Coleman looks like he's a real uh, good guy to have in your roster for fantasy. Uh, Cook looked like he is enjoying his new contract and running up and down the field. Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry. My God, I mean, if you have Derrick Henry on your fantasy team, you are very happy, even though he fumbled. And if it wasn't for Allen, I would have lost. We played each other in game one, and you were killing me, and I was already making my lineup for next week and went to bed. And then Josh Allen brought them back, and in our league, we have all these bonuses for points and yards and stuff. So it's like crazy points. But he had 82 points, and it was I came back from like 30 points down and won because of him. So thank you, John.
He's, not to keep going back to the past, but he's another quarterback. When that draft, what was that, 2018? I forget if that was the same one as Saquon, or the year before or after. But I, from what I saw in his highlights, from Wyoming, even though it's a smaller school, I always thought like he's another guy that could have been number one, and I think it would have been justified.
For the week, as far as football fans go, all the primetime games were great. Thursday, Friday, the Chiefs game, Sunday night's game was amazing. For fan part, for watching, those games were amazing and seemed to be must see TV. Let's talk about the Cowboys.
Uh, we have to talk about this game.
Only because I like to rub it in Jerry Jones's face. Like, why did he let Micah Parsons go to the Packers? Because the Packers looked good week one. The Cowboys looked like they definitely, I mean, they lost by 4 points to the Eagles. And if they had Micah Parsons, maybe that score is different. And Jalen Carter, we'll talk about that too. But I mean, Jalen Carter, the Eagles survived Jalen Carter's bonehead spitting thing, and it changed the game. I don't think the Cowboys score 20 points if Jalen Carter's in the game. And I don't think Javonte Williams rushes up and down the field like he did and was a fantasy star.
Yeah, there he was on my bench. Would have helped my odds at winning if we started him.
Yeah, but
Uh,
you wouldn't think they would have rushed with
no,
Jalen
no,
Carter.
with that defensive line that Philly has, and believe me, that's a defense I know all too well. Facing them twice a year. No, I wouldn't have thought that it would have been a running explosion, especially with, a new head coach. The Cowboys just being the Cowboys. It was really unexpected. Really looked like anybody's game. They looked evenly matched on that field, but also taking, a key defensive player out of that mix who does not only rush the passer, but stop the run, take up blocks. That's a big loss.
From a fantasy perspective, CeeDee Lamb, I mean, he scored points. He got some fantasy points, but those drops, I mean, those were crucial. They cost them the game. They might have actually won that game.
I'll be one to say it, and it's probably not common coming from a Giants fan or an Eagles fan or a Commanders fan, but I think Dak is overhated. I don't People make him out to be the worst quarterback ever, and I think part of that comes with the responsibility of being a Dallas Cowboys quarterback, just because they're one of, the franchises. But I really think, like, when you watch a lot of the games, he makes stupid mistakes, but then he has so many that, what can you do when you're getting people the ball, but they just can't catch? What are you doing when, you're on your back for a good chunk of the game?
But it was a close game. It was a good game, and he came. They did have a chance even at the end. So, I mean, from a fantasy perspective, I mean, Williams for the Cowboys looks like he might be running back. I was thinking the rookie Blue he was inactive that week. But I was thinking he might be the RB1 for them, but he's not even dressing. So I guess they're going with Miles Sanders and Williams right now. And I mean, Dallas Goddard was the star
I
for
mean, Philly has a unique kind of offense, and I think tight end play is a big part of it. They've had a good tight end there for really most of my life, and also with their tush pushes and really 1-2 punch with a mobile quarterback, an improviser quarterback, and a top 5 running back, top 1 running back, really, at least going off last year. Not as much utilization of the receivers, but also Dallas's defense did
yeah.
play better than I thought they would, and
And
they were making some good plays.
AJ Brown had one catch for 8 yards. That's
Yeah, so he didn't have
unbelievable.
a first down the whole game. That's
So I don't know. AJ Brown. If I'm an AJ Brown owner in fantasy, he's on my team. I'm pissed. What was your favorite game of the week? Wasn't the Giants, was it?
no. The Giants game was probably my least favorite of the week.
Let's talk about that because I think Dayball and the GM are the clock is started on their exit from
Yeah. It's just this team is annoying. Is really the most kind way I could put it. And that doesn't even have to do with their on-field performance, which is also less than acceptable. But the fact that, you give Daniel Jones all this money, you don't give Saquon his money, and then they both leave. I know we're only 1 week in with Daniel Jones as a starting quarterback on another team, but still, they're both playing well. Saquon should have been MVP last year, arguably over Josh
agreed.
Allen. They could have avoided all of this by just making smarter decisions on the business end. So it's kind of ridiculous that anybody involved with either end of that is still employed for any football organization, which may be a bit harsh. But I do like Coach Dable. Um, I don't know much or care much about who's the GM of the
Joe
team.
Shane.
I know who the GM is, but I'm just saying I don't have much to say for him other than he's not doing great. I think it is do or die. I think Dable may have another year if they trend in the right direction, but then that begs the question is, are we gonna roll with Russell Wilson and pray that he becomes, prime Seahawks Super Bowl quarterback again? Or are we gonna just lose out and, wait for everyone to get fired and restart the team? Because I think we had a great offseason. I think we had one of the best drafts out of any of the teams. We
True.
addressed essentially every need that we have. I like that we didn't jump the gun right away with quarterback. Like
Yeah,
we got a
if they let
Carter.
Carter get by, I would have lost my mind, even though I'm not a Giants fan, but I am a Giants fan, as I said earlier. But that was a no-brainer. You have to take. That's like a one of those future Hall of Famers potentially. If knock on wood he stays healthy his whole career, uh, that could be amazing for them. Echoes of Lawrence Taylor. You know that's the dream. And then they got so many linebackers right now, but yet I guess the Commanders
That's
they
one of the
didn't.
best defensive lines too. I'd say they're right up there with Philly. They're Dexter Lawrence is, undisputable one of the best defensive linemen in the league. At least this past 2 seasons or so.
He
Uh,
only had 3 tackles last week. I'm looking at his stats right now.
but you got to, maybe some more bias, but as a former defensive tackle, 3 tackles may not, light up the stat board, but there's a lot more you're doing and supplying to the front of the defense than just
Correct.
making plays. That's more where an Abdul Carter or, anybody in that edge rusher, linebacker, D end position comes in more. Um, while he
Yeah,
still does
if
get
he
sacked.
occupies a block or two, he can make a hole for somebody to shoot through and stop the running back, make a sack, and but 21 to what was the final score? 21-6.
Didn't get a touchdown. I'm pretty sure the only team that did not score a touchdown in week 1.
But then it's like they scored so many points in the preseason, and everybody was like, "Oh, maybe they're better than they thought," and then they come out and lay an egg.
Yeah, well, that's where the question is raised because, it was against backups, but who was scoring most of those points in the preseason? Wasn't Russell Wilson. It was their other 2 quarterbacks that are on the bench.
Right,
Um,
and I mean, and if you're waiting for Jackson Dart to hit the field, I understand the thinking the Giants do, and you look at their schedule, they have playing all playoff teams. It's almost as if they won the Super Bowl. They have the hardest
yeah,
schedule in the
don't know how
league.
this happened.
And if you're waiting for a chance where it's going to get easier for Jackson Dart to come on the field, it's not coming till next season. So the, Russell Wilson is not the answer. He looked like the Russell Wilson at the end of the season for the Steelers last year, where they were rolling, and then they laid eggs for the last 5 weeks of the season, and getting to the playoffs is not enough. And I think Mike Tomlin's on the hot seat this year because of that. And you bring Russell Wilson in, he's got experience. He won a Super Bowl. He can throw the long ball. You think he's going to hook up with Malik Neighbors, who's losing his mind the entire game on the sideline because Wilson couldn't get him the ball.
Yeah,
I don't know how long you can stick with him. Like, after this week, I think if they lose again, Jackson Dart's going to start week 3.
yeah, they have to do something. I mean, I know, they have Jameis Winston there. He's not their guy. He's more, he's a great teammate. I'd even go as far to say he's probably my favorite quarterback currently in the league. Not based off, you know, on-field performance, but just by being entertaining and being the person that he is. But I feel like, yeah, you have to give Jackson Dart the reins at some point. I think it's quite honestly stupid that we drafted him top 20 whatever, if we weren't going to utilize him this season. There's no cakewalk stretches in the schedule. Quite honestly, I thought week 1 against Washington was the one game where I was confident. Like, I think we're going to shock them. I think we're going to come in here. Maybe a close game, might be an ugly game, but I thought for sure that the Giants would have been champions last Sunday. The fool I was for having faith. And Washington just played the Packers again and got embarrassed.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking too. Like, looking at Washington, you're like, oh, they're still good. They're the playoff team. And then, week 2, the Packers made Washington look pedestrian. My thought was, I had in my notes was like, is Washington that good or are the Giants that bad?
Well, the Giants are that bad. But the question is it the Giants, or is Russell Wilson that bad? Like, watching the game, he just wasn't getting it done. He didn't seem terrible, but then you look back at the stats and the score, and it's like, no, that is terrible. You're a long tenured NFL vet who's played in the Super Bowl, who's, experienced a multitude of different offenses and teams. You should be bigger and better than this now. Yeah, he had some runs. Yeah, he had some,
He was
good balls.
He was the leading rusher. He had 44 yards rushing.
Oh, wow. 44 yards is the leading rusher on an offense.
I know, but that's
No,
crazy.
I know for him that's good, but that's terrible.
It's crazy that they have Tracy and Singletary and Scadaboo, and combined they only had
That's the other
33
thing
yards,
is,
30 yards.
The past 5-10 years, I feel like we've been getting offensive linemen left and right in the draft, and we've still continuously had a terrible offensive line. There was I don't even remember what number he was, who was at like right tackle or something in that Giants game. And I was like, who is this? I know that, what's his name? Andrew Thomas is injured. And him coming back will definitely be an asset for the Giants, as he's their only real offensive lineman. But that's the thing. If Jackson Dart's in there, I think he provides more of an asset in the mobility. I think that he provides just a young, hype energy that Russell Wilson has not had since 2012, 2013. So whenever he came into the league and, started dominating right away, I think Jackson Dart can get that energy that a young Russ had for Seattle. That was kind of a team in no man's land for a little bit at that time. And I don't know. We have to start him. We can't wait till the bye week, because it's basically the end of the season.
I think if they lose, Dart has to start week 3, or New York will go insane. Like, the fans, the newspapers, the media, it's going to be
You have to give
ugly.
him a chance because it's one thing if we put him in, let's say, week 3, week 4, whatever, and he plays a couple games and is worse, and they look in a worse spot, and you just want to see if there's a chance for Jameis or Wilson to, get you something. But ultimately, he has to learn, he has to develop. Obviously, you don't want to get him killed out there, but what's going to change between week 2 of the NFL season now and year 2 for him? Like, what changes are
Right.
going to be made that drastically, that impactful, that will truly make them in a better place, in a safer place for him to start next year? I don't think there is one. I think you need to get him on the field. He's going to take his bumps and bruises. He's going to get conditioned to play. And also, not for nothing, he was at Ole Miss, which always has good quarterback play, always gets a quarterback signed or drafted somewhere, but they're not a they weren't a insane team, and a big part of why they were neck and neck with other SEC schools that are like that is Jackson Dart was their quarterback. And another college team I followed a lot in high school was USC. I know that's where he started off, so I've been aware of Jackson Dart since we were both playing high school football, not at the same area like Jahan Dotson was, but
The same years.
same years, similar years.
Yeah, well, I mean, week 3, looking ahead, the Giants would have the Chiefs, who in week 1 lost to the Chargers, who Justin Herbert was throwing the ball all over the field, which was kind of a surprise because Jim Harbaugh likes to run the ball, and they got Amari and Hampton, who did okay for a fantasy team if you wanted. And they look like they got 3 receivers that are all came up with stats that were like number 1 receiver numbers,
Quentin
the
Johnson
Chargers.
finally remembered that he's a wide receiver.
Who said that?
Quentin Johnston, the
Oh, I think, yeah, they finally remembered
number
he was
one on the Chargers, like caught like 5 passes his rookie year.
5 passes, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he only dropped 2 or missed 2.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
pretty sure
remember
that's his stats from his rookie year too. Like
for the
that's
entire year.
he's
Yep.
already better.
Yeah, McConkey also 6 catches, 74 yards, and Allen is back. Keenan Allen's back, 7 catches, 68 yards. And then Conklin, former Jet tight end, had 2 catches for 50 yards. So they're spreading it all around the field. Justin Herbert looked like the guy that maybe fans were hoping he'd be this. And again, don't get too excited. It's week 1, but
And Joe All is a dog on that offensive line.
yeah, and they didn't even run the ball. So once they get that going, they might be terrifying. They might be scoring 30, 40 points a week.
The Chargers are a team I've been waiting to see do something uh for a while. I mean, obviously Philip Rivers was great. They didn't get them much past the divisional
Couldn't
rounds.
get past these guys.
Yeah. And I think that was his last year, or at least last playoff appearance there was when New England put like a 50 piece on their head.
Yeah,
in
he went to the
wild
Colts
card
after,
round.
but it didn't work out.
But I've been waiting. They've always had exciting players on their team. They had what's his name? They had Damian Tomlinson. They had was it Antonio Gates as tight end. They had Philip Rivers. They had Junior Seau.
Yeah.
They've had plentiful
Going
amount.
back to my time, Dan Fouts, and they had Jefferson and Joyner and
Doug Flutie for a little bit too, I think.
yeah, before what's his name?
For Drew Brees was
Please, thank you. I was
another
blanking.
one. Like they've had guys, and they haven't done much. I think they maybe went
They
to the
got one
Super Bowl
Super
in
Bowl.
the '70s or something like that. But that's NFL. I'm not even tuned in with. So
Before your time.
yeah. Well, I mean, I pay attention to like '80s, '90s NFL, partially because of the glory days of my
Right.
team during that time. But I can't speak much to any time the Chargers were great back in the day. But I want to see them do something. The joke is always Chargers fans don't exist. So I want to see them. I want to see the Chargers fans. I want to see them do something good. I want to see Coach Harbaugh have some success, like he had at Michigan, as an NFL coach again. And yeah, I I also am a hater, so I'm glad that they beat the Chiefs. And I hope that that speaks more to how bad the Chiefs are this year and not to how good the Chargers are, because then maybe the Giants have a chance for Jackson
Well,
Dart
see,
to
that's the
start
thing.
against
If
them.
the Chiefs are playing the way they played in week one, there's no reason to hold back Jackson Dart. I mean,
No,
the Chiefs defense is usually pretty good, especially come playoff time. So they take a while to warm up. So maybe that's the mode they're in right now. But Patrick Mahomes looked just average. I mean, he did okay, threw for 258 yards, one touchdown. Travis Kelsey is on his honeymoon already. I think he wasn't even there. I mean, you have him on the fantasy team, but he's not the guy he used to be. I mean, your backup tight
Taylor
end,
Swift gentrified.
Tyler Warren, on the coach seems like the better play for fantasy this week than Kelsey because well, can't even find him. Did he have a catch? He had two catches,
Two
and he did have
catches
a
and
touchdown.
raged at his teammate. That's about all he did.
Yeah, right, and he separated Worthy's shoulder, who's going to be out for a couple of weeks. He's probably not playing this week, so look for a different option in fantasy than Worthy. Because I saw today it said chances are slim for him to play this weekend, and they couldn't run the ball. Isaiah Pacheco gone, Kareem Hunt. They both had 5 rushing attempts. That's 10 rushing attempts and Mahomes scrambled 6 times. That's not that's not going to win. You can't win with just there's no balance there.
No, no. And you
I
know,
say back to Jackson Dart, he should start week 3. The Chiefs are not
and
rolling
let's
yet.
see it, because even if they are the Chiefs that they've been the past few years, and let's see how he does against the best team or one of the best teams in the league then.
Yeah, and coming up this weekend, they have the Super Bowl rematch. I don't know. I think the Eagles win that game. I didn't see it from the Chiefs game. I mean, it was a good game. It was close, but both of these teams. This is why the first 3 or 4 weeks, the way the NFL works now, these guys don't play in preseason. So yes, they play in practice, and you would know this better than me playing higher level of football than I ever did. Like practice during the week and 7-on-7s and scrimmaging against a team is not the same speed and intensity. And they're also these guys are now they haven't played in the preseason and now they're gonna play the full game.
Well,
Like
that's what I was gonna say, is that's often the case, is the better the team is, the less of their good players have played in the preseason.
right. So but like week one when Kansas City comes up short, it's not surprising because they maybe played a couple of series in each game, if at all. And nobody played in that fourth game. So
Yeah,
it's been 2 weeks since they played, and now you're gonna come play the Chargers. It didn't work out.
no, and it's week one. It's still, you can speak to the results and occurrences of last season or the past few seasons. You could look to preseason, but at the end of the day, everything really resets as soon as the clock starts on week one, as soon as the kickoff goes, because you haven't fully played together as a team. That team, even if it's one or two pieces that have been changed around, that's still a different team than it was the year before, then maybe even the
Yeah,
month
they're
before.
always different. They have a lot of similar pieces, but it's a different team. You can't judge
So I
last year.
truly think, like, yeah, they came up short in this first rendition of being this team, whether that's the Chiefs, the Giants, the Cowboys, the whatever. But I think that they'll have time to turn it around. As much as I'm not a huge Patrick Mahomes fan, I think he'll be just fine. I think Travis Kelsey will end up being just fine unless Taylor Swift really just got rid of all of his football drive and uh whatever.
I'm making face because he was on my squad last year, and man, the backup tight end Gray was the better tight end in a lot of those weeks that I had him starting, and it's just like I'm hoping week one was a fluke. Hoping he can get over taking Worthy out of the lineup for a couple of weeks, and maybe because Rice is suspended and Worthy is now hurt, maybe he gets a couple more targets and makes a couple more catches this week for fantasy. But I don't know. I don't know. The
Well,
Eagles are gonna know that, and they're gonna cover him.
yeah, well, I think that's a big indicator of the season is next week because if, that's me, I have the biggest chip on my shoulder. Not only did you stop me from three-peating in the Super Bowl, you absolutely, dunked their head in the toilet, gave them a swirly, and then used it to mop up the piss on the ground. Like, that was
Yeah, that was a
the
shocking
only
Super Bowl.
words I can use to describe that Super Bowl are all crimes. Like that was not a game, that was an assault. And so if
I've
I
never
am the
seen I've
Chiefs,
never seen such domination in the game.
that
So
a Super Bowl should not be like that. And that's not just me being a bitter Giants fan watching Saquon get a ring after leaving us. That is me as a fan of football more so than I'm a fan of any team. And it's just like there was no hope for that game. You were watching, it's like, oh, Philly got a good start. Oh, Philly's going. Oh, Philly's really going. Okay,
yeah, that was
it's halftime. I'm gonna go to bed. Like, there's not even there's no way this game changes.
yeah.
It's not Tom Brady. There's no 28-3 comeback. Like,
Well, although there was a couple moments in that Super Bowl that late when the Eagles are playing prevent, they had a couple scores, and I think it was Worthy who's had a big touchdown that bomb. So again, that speed's going to be missed this week. It was definitely missed against the Chargers. Him getting knocked out. That was early in the game. That changed the game. Again, much like Jalen Carter getting tossed. And the Eagles changed the game and allowed the Cowboys to have a chance. I mean, maybe the Chargers don't win that game if Worthy's in there. But their whole game plan changed without Worthy.
yeah,
He only had one pass. He had one rush, right? And did he have any did he make a catch at all? Let me look. Nope, nothing. He had one target, and maybe they're considering the one where Kelsey took his shoulder off. I don't know, but
yeah, targeted.
so the Packers and Lions game. The Lions really look like they're missing their coordinators.
Looks like Aaron Glenn. Looks like he's making the Jets a little better, and the Lions are a little worse without him.
Yeah, I mean they're looking for an identity. It feels like on both sides of the ball, or maybe the Packers are just that good because the Packers were a top 10 defense last year. And now adding Parsons, who was practiced for like 3 or 4 days and got a sack and had a couple of pressures and looked like Micah Parsons and looked like his back is just fine. And I love the fact that the Packers fans are chanting, "Thank you, Jerry," even after last night's game, too. I don't want to talk about week two too much, but that game last night, the Packers 2-0 now. They smoked the Lions, who were, the favorites in the Super Bowl last year, and then they took out the Commanders, who were in the championship game, and now maybe the success Washington had against the Giants, maybe they came down to earth. I mean, Jaden Daniels didn't look that great last night.
Jaden Daniels didn't look that great against the Giants either. The Giants didn't look that great against anybody on that field.
Mhm.
And their defense still made plays. They still got to the quarterback. Um, and it really was anybody's game until like the end of it. It was 21-6, but when it's 3-10, it's like, oh, okay, this is anybody's game. And then it's that for like a whole quarter. And you're like, okay, the Giants just need one play, one big Cam Scatterboo run, and his angry run for 5 yards is not what I'm talking about.
Right.
Get Tyrone Tracy a nice dump off, something. I was thinking like they just need a touchdown. I think if they got a touchdown, they would have had some momentum as a team. But it's also very hard as a defense um, to play your heart out, make highlights, make good plays, help change the course of the game. And then your offense goes 3-and-out. Your offense throws an interception, fumbles, gets sacked, whatever happens. And it's just like, come on, man. You have to back each other up. It's like a relationship. It should be a 50-50 split offense and defense. Well, I guess you got to factor in special teams too. But if we're talking some fantasy leagues, that's defense anyway. So we'll keep that there.
We can go off topic. This is what our conversations are always. We try to make it about fantasy, but we're figuring this out too. We can go whatever tangent we want to go to. We've done it probably a dozen times already, so don't apologize. Go with your thought.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, for lack of a better explanation of what I'm talking about. But
Gotcha.
I
Yeah, but Detroit looks like they're missing Ben Johnson. Montgomery and Gibbs couldn't do anything against the Packers. The Packers defense, again, they looked solid. Sam Laporta had a nice game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, not what you expect from him. I mean, Gibbs had 10 receptions, but only had 31 yards. That's not the win games.
now
I also think that's hard to interrupt, but I also think like going forward, Dan Campbell can't pull those going for it on fourth down things anymore. I don't think he's got the coordinators and the defense is not there yet to like cover you when you don't make it on 4th and 1.
do you think the Dan Campbell insanity run is coming to an end?
I don't think the run is coming to an end. I think he's got to play the game a little more traditionally, like and take the extra point and not go for 2 all the time, and not go for it on 4th down when you're within field goal range because the points. And again, the Packers are good, and again, it's just week 1, but like I think he may have to play this game a little more traditionally from a coaching standpoint and take the points when they're there.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
And they've got a good kicker, so they should do that. And I like a couple of those games last year, I felt they should have gone for the field goal or the extra point. And the way that the football math geometry works out, like 3 points, 6 points, if we get the ball back, we can tie it up. But like playing for the win before you're even within range to tie it up is the kind of things that I think he may want to tone it down a little bit, especially without Ben Johnson in Jared Goff's ear.
Speaking on the NFC North Conference, here's a game I want to talk about. How about the Bears and Vikings?
Oh, yeah, let's talk about it. Because everybody was poo-pooing J.J. McCarthy, and I don't know. I always liked this kid in college. He played for a pro coach at Michigan. He won a national championship. Why anybody thought he wouldn't? He had a terrible start to that game, but boy, he showed his moxie and his, what a good player. And if you played, when someone plays like that and leads the team to a comeback, like that just lifts him up as a leader. He's the captain on the team. He's essentially a rookie. And so
he's a Ben Simmons rookie. He's not a rookie, but he didn't play his rookie year. So right. I think that still he shouldn't be able to get that reward, but I wouldn't absolutely hate it if he somehow was the first second-year NFL player to get the award.
Yeah, and the Bears, Ben Johnson era starting in Chicago, everybody was excited. If you're a Chicago fan, you think like some, quarterback whisperer. He turned Jared Goff into this, really solid quarterback. You're thinking Caleb Williams is going to come back, and Caleb Williams looked good, but really he was running for his life and doing things off schedule. And just in that athleticism, made these great plays. It wasn't because the game was called. Like those plays in the first three quarters that he was making were him running for his life again after they, spent all this money and drafted linemen and they still not protected. He still doesn't have 2 seconds to stand back there, 3 seconds back to stand back there without him to run.
No, as much as it's easy to blame everything on him, especially as he's wearing a baggy gray T-shirt that isn't any team
Yeah, that
color
look was
and has painted nails as a quarterback in the NFL. It's easy enough to kind of
the gray shirt look was gotta go.
That's ridiculous. That looks like your JV backup long snapper, like wearing a T-shirt with like I don't know. It's just shouldn't. I'm not saying tuck the jerseys in. I used to roll it up and have the shirt hanging out low, but at least it would be team color or black and white to match whatever color
Yeah,
you were wearing. Um,
yeah.
I-
Kyle Brand on Good Morning Football had the same thought. He thought whoever let him out of the locker room looking like that should be fired.
no, that's that just looks like he just like got off work and decided to play some football. Let me just throw a football uniform on over my thing. But no, I think he played really well. I think he went like 10 for 10 or 11 for 11 to start off the game, if I'm not mistaken. I was watching and I was thinking, oh, like maybe we owe him an apology. Maybe this is gonna be the Caleb Williams turnaround year. And then, man, that second half of the game was just the Minnesota Vikings show. They really couldn't do
Brian
anything.
Flores and his defense decided to show up, and everything changed. I mean, again, now are the Vikings that good, or did they just have a good game and their defense just decided to show up in the fourth quarter? Because they won that game as much as JJ McCarthy uh, ran for that touchdown, but like the defense pressuring and getting the Bears out there on 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and that last drive when Caleb Williams could have led them to victory, he just rushed and threw everything high that whole time, and
You look
he didn't
terrified.
have it.
Yeah. Overall, it was a good game. Um, definitely want to see more from both of them. But the Minnesota Vikings are a team that I've always said, and one of my good friends I played football with in high school is a diehard Vikings fan. Uh, always said they
Shout out to Eric.
always have a great team um, with a non-remarkable quarterback. You had Case Keenum lead you one game short of the Super Bowl. You had Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins,
You have
oh
Kirk
yeah,
Cousins, who's no disrespect to him, but he is no Hall of Fame, no real high-end Pro Bowl quarterback. But damn it, was was he good for them? Much better than Washington and much better than Atlanta too. Um, and then now JJ McCarthy, who, obviously it's too early to say anything. We saw one game where he really only played one half of football functionally.
one
Uh,
quarter really.
yeah.
I mean, late third quarter, fourth quarter, it was not. It was ugly. He looked overwhelmed, and Chicago's defense looked great for 3 quarters essentially, and then the wheels fell off.
But also this is a kid like you talk
He settled
about,
down. He figured it out.
you know, one of the things with, greats like Brady is the poise, and just the experience with winning in big time situations, even if you have a terrible
Right.
game to start off. JJ McCarthy, I don't think has lost a game since he entered high school. And granted, he went to IMG Academy, which is basically might as well just be NFL, NBA, MLB, whatever pro
Yeah.
tennis is called academy. That's like a sports boarding school, but still, nonetheless, that doesn't mean they're playing local Florida high schools. They're playing, Bergen Catholic in Jersey. They're playing, St. John Bosco in California. They're playing, you know, Allen, Texas. They're playing some of
Yeah.
these remarkable
Yeah, he's a
programs
winner. He's been a winner for his
in
whole
the
life.
whole nation. So, I think he's a winner. I
You can
like
see that's
J.J.
why they let
McCarthy.
Darnold go. It was not like, and they knew what they had, and he
Yeah.
probably would have taken over last year.
Well, let's speaking of Darnold, let's talk about Seattle.
What are your thoughts?
I'm more interested in the future. Jalen Milroe's there. I know he's not their quarterback this year,
He did get in.
but he did. And I'm interested to see, does Sam Darnold take this and run, and is he going to have another Linsanity run with the Seahawks? Are they going to be good again this year? Or is it going to be another situation where if they're not where they need to be by, mid-season point, do they say, hey, let's throw Jalen Milroe in and see what he could do?
Yeah, and that game was not. And that was one of the less exciting
Yeah,
games, unless
that
you had
was
Christian McCaffrey on your fantasy team. But 17-13 was not one of those ones. It wasn't. It wasn't an exciting 17-13 to me. It seemed like it was kind of lopsided. I felt like Robert Sala and the San Francisco defense looked good, like they did when he was there the last time. I think Darnold, I mean, he only threw for 150 yards, no touchdown. That's not good. That's not going to get it done.
no,
Uh,
and now's a real time to see the quarterback he is. I mean, obviously, being on the Panthers and Jets to start off your career isn't really great. But then you have a career resurgence when you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson and a really good offensive line and, loaded defense to back you up when you don't do good on offense. And then he does good all of a sudden. Now
right,
it's
and a
like,
good
well, now he's
good
on the
running
scene.
back. Aaron Jones had a great year last year.
Yeah. And I feel like the Seahawks are just a mid team.
I
Like
think they're
that's the
missing. They're missing TJ Metcalf for sure. Like having that guy, that big body who could, even if he's covered, make a catch. Like I think they got little receivers.
yeah. Well, when you have
Cooper
a
Cup,
he's like 30 something too. He's
Cooper
not.
Cup did only 2 catches for 15 yards. I mean, Smith and Jigba 9 for 124. That's amazing, but no touchdowns. So he just ran up and down the field, but he didn't score.
He also had all of the stats that pretty much every catch was to him.
I mean, Darnold threw for 150 and Jigba was 124 of them. So that's when you're playing defense and he's only throwing to one guy, he's only playing catch with one guy.
Yeah, that's I
Like
don't know.
on the other hand, like going back to the Packers for a second, Love threw to 10 different receivers. You don't know who to cover. Now, I know I just covered Jigba, and then they only get scored 13 points. And then your running game, Charbonnet seemed to be the RB1 over Walker. And Walker's a stud, but, you know, he got doubled up by Charbonnet in yards, 47-20. So I don't know. I think they need to figure it out quick. But San Francisco, on the other hand, they won the game, but they lost. They really lost. I mean, Kittle's gone for 4 weeks. Purdy's not playing next week. Uh, I don't know. Mac Jones, week 2, gets a win for San Francisco. I don't know. I wouldn't want him in my. I wouldn't put Mac Jones in my fantasy team.
Yeah.
I mean, as a Patriots fan, I know that my thing on Mac Jones was if they fall behind, they're not winning. If they're behind 3-0, they're not winning. He only played well with the lead. He never played well from behind. He's not going to lead down the field like Brady or even Brock Purdy, for that matter, to like win a game. I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah, I mean both honestly that whole conference really in its entirety is I feel like just like a gray space of the NFL right now.
Mm.
The Niners were in the Super Bowl a couple years back, but they always they're an interesting team, their pattern. They'll be like dominant for a couple years and then they'll be mid and then they're terrible and then they're dominant for a season and then they're terrible. Like you can never really tell with them. The Seahawks have, I think, historically not been that great. I also don't think they've really been historic because they haven't been around that long, in the history of the NFL terms at least. They've had much less years of experience than say Giants. Um, you know,
Yeah.
but the Rams, Matt
The Rams look
Stafford's
good.
there. The Rams were good, but
They look good this week. I mean, Puka was amazing. He got bloodied and he got taped up or stitched up and came back in and had a
Well,
lot of
they're
receptions. I mean, Devontae Adams, they got to get him the ball more, but Stafford was able to survive the game with his back. It made the Texans look like they're in trouble already. I mean,
the
CJ
Texans
Stroud
are
is, I don't know. He was so good in year one, and last year he was, and now Stroud threw for 188 yards. Nick Chubb, he's going to be the RB1. He did okay. They got to get him the ball more in week 2, especially since he's on my fantasy team. They need to get him the ball more. But I mean, the Rams, I came away from watching them, even though it was like a 14-9 game. I felt like they're like a team that might make a run. I mean, there were a couple of plays in the Super Bowl last year. If they didn't play in the snow game, maybe they'd win that game
yeah.
last year.
And the Cardinals, I don't know. The Cardinals look like the Cardinals.
They always look good at the beginning, I
That's what
feel
I'm
like.
saying. Like, they had some explosive plays. Kyler Murray should be a highlight quarterback,
He looked good.
but I still, it'd be nice to see Marvin Harrison Jr. Have a season that truly lives up to being like the greatest receiver draft prospect. Which it's funny how that didn't last long, even at
Right.
the same school with what's his name, Jeremiah Smith,
Hmm.
who's might be like the number 1 overall pick
Oh, I
as a
can't
wide
wait for that
receiver.
guy. I've already got him penciled in on my draft because he's got to come out next year. I don't think he's going. He's not lasting there. He's not lasting there 4 years. He's coming out.
No, no. The
He's
only reason he would do that is to set like the all-time receiving record, which I don't even know if that'd be possible now since like people used to play college football for like 6 years.
Yeah. I've already got him penciled in. Back to the Cardinals for a second. Connor looks like they can't make you can't get rid of him. They want to get Benson more carries, but James Conner just keeps chugging along, being solid, and you know, if
He's
you have
always
him on
been
your
pretty
fantasy team,
solid.
you're never disappointed.
Oh, I liked him in Pittsburgh. I liked watching him when he was at Pitt before going to Pittsburgh. He's a solid running back. He's not in the GOAT or top 10 conversation, but I think he's always a safe bet to have on your fantasy roster, and a good asset to have on your NFL roster.
Yeah, and McBride, the tight end, he's everybody's drafting him pretty high. He's like the top 3 tight ends in the fantasy drafts this year. So if you have him on your team, you're usually pretty happy. And that opponent that game, New Orleans, I know Spencer Rattler is not the answer to quarterback. I was not impressed.
Spencer Rattler's not. I don't think Tyler Shuck or whatever it is. I know the joke was they drafted Tyler Shuck to tank for Arch Manning, but I know we said we weren't talking about college football, but let's say that doesn't look like that's happening right now. So,
Alvin Kamara is still there. He was just okay for him. He did score a touchdown, so he got you some fantasy points that way. But he's usually a pretty good receiver, and he only got 2 balls thrown in his direction, so that's not going to do it. I mean, he's aging and he's coming off injuries. Seems every year these Kamara I'm talking about, but he's still probably your best player on the field. They got to get him the ball more. That's my 2 cents. I don't know if anybody cares what a guy who doesn't play football, but just I've been watching football for decades, and he's pretty darn good. I don't know. Spencer Rattler throwing the ball 46 times. That's not a recipe for a playoff team. I don't think that's the right move,
Unless you're throwing for like 600 yards in that game.
which he didn't.
Yeah,
So 214 is not even close.
yeah.
And I mean, the Cardinals defense. I had them on my team last week. They did well by me. I was okay. Their defense looks good and a solid fantasy defense. You could week to week maybe if they're available check their opponent and this week they should be pretty good on defense too. Even though I dropped them, but I wanted the Rams defense this week because they're playing Tennessee. So I've been avoiding talking about these guys because I was not my team, the Patriots. I was not impressed with the offense. I thought they were going to be a little better. They still don't have a wide receiver out there. They didn't use Henderson as much as I thought they should have, even though they were trying to use him when they were trying to catch up. But they that's for sure. Everybody was penciling them in as a potential wild card playoff team this year, but I don't know. From what I saw in week one, I'm not buying any tickets for the
I
playoffs.
think that anyone who's thinking that their wild card playoff team is thinking that Vrabel is the wild card playoff coach. I don't know where the Patriots are at right now. I think
Yeah, I mean,
I
they got to get Gonzalez back on defense. Him being hurt, that definitely hurt them last week. I mean, they were throwing the ball long on the Patriots all afternoon. Geno Smith looked like a stud, 362 yards passing, one touchdown. I mean, they did sack him 4 times. The Patriots did sack Geno Smith 4 times, so that's a good thing.
yeah,
But I don't know. I don't know. Brock Bowers looked amazing. I'm glad he's my tight end on my fantasy team. Jacoby Myers, 8 catches, 97 yards. Got his little revenge on the Patriots. So I don't know. The Raiders look much improved. Pete Carroll knows what he's doing. I don't know why
Carolyn.
Seattle let him go. Really,
Yeah, well, the Raiders, they're a team I'm interested to watch. They're also now under partial ownership of Tom Brady. Uh, Definitely thought Shador Sanders was going to be their quarterback this season.
yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you, I did not watch the Browns game, so I don't really have much to say about that.
I mean, that was a
But
close game. That was a close game. I mean, Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco. Their running game, the rookie Sampson looked pretty good. He might be a guy to pick up to be a flex running back. I think they're waiting for Judkins, the Ohio State
hmm,
kid, to get his legal issues worked out, and he's probably going to be the number one. But the tight end Fannin, he was all over the field. He's a tight end, but they're lining him up as a slot receiver, a wide receiver, a tight end. He ran the ball. Like he looks like a weapon. That's why I quickly picked him up and put him on my bench after that performance because he had the most targets, and it looks like he's kind of a switchblade or a Swiss Army knife kind of player. Like they could put him in a lot of different places, and he seems to succeed. I'm hoping he continues. He seems like he's Joe Flacco's favorite at this point. The Bengals and all that money they spent on these wide receivers just not. They didn't really do it last week. And Joe Burrow, I don't know what's with him, but he can't seem to get off to a fast start, even though they won the game. But it was not.
they're an interesting team. The fact they went from the Andy Dalton like okay team some good years, and then they get Joe Burrow first overall, a couple years back, and then the next year go to the Super Bowl against the Rams, and lose. Big thanks to Aaron Donald, my favorite, possibly favorite defensive player to touch the field, at least that I've gotten to witness in my lifetime. Yeah, they haven't really, they've made the wild card. They've
Yeah,
had some moments, but they haven't really
I know, but
done anything
Jamar Chase
since.
only getting 2 catches for 26 yards, that's not, I mean, he was the number 1 draft pick in a lot of people's fantasy leagues, but that's not number 1 draft pick worthy, stats. So, again, is Cleveland's defense that good, or the Bengals just out of sync? Because, again, like we said earlier, they don't play in the preseason.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
again,
on
it's week
paper,
1.
it's
Let's not
great
lose our
offense.
Yeah, let's not lose our minds. It's week 1, but, like, that all those stars and all that money they spent, 17 points, they should get more than 17 points.
Yeah, no, I
That's
fully
all.
agree, but that's the beauty of week one. I guess technically we are in week two since Green Bay and Washington have played as of yesterday. Today,
Yeah.
uh, perception of time's a little off. Been a long work week, but
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to maybe record these before the Thursday game going forward, but this is when our schedule's working out. But if this
yeah,
is the way the schedule works out, we'll do it this way.
the first week is through. We're going into week two.
What are
You
you
know,
looking forward to this week? Are there any games, like, on tap that you're looking forward to?
all of them. I just love football, but
I mean, Commanders
I
Packers, that looked like that, that's a potential playoff matchup. The Packers, as we said earlier, looked
yeah,
amazing. Their defense looked solid. The Commanders look like they have a lot of work to do. Austin Eckler, his Achilles is most likely popped. They haven't confirmed it yet, but if anybody has watched, as we've all watched with all these Achilles injuries all these years, the last couple of years, he's done, and maybe he's done because he's several years in. Maybe that's the last time he hits a field. Um, but the Packers look good.
no,
27
I
Josh Jacobs
something.
is a touchdown. He scored a touchdown every game. It's like 11 games, I think. It's the record for the Packers, which that's amazing.
Yeah, it's such a historic and historically good franchise too. Um, but I don't know if I were to have to make a way too early Super Bowl prediction. Um, Give me the Steelers and the Packers. Give me two of the most historic, biggest franchises in NFL and sports history. Um, Give me the most Super Bowls versus the team's coach that the Super Bowl trophy's named after. Um, and I don't know. Give me old man Aaron Rodgers slaying the Rock
Well,
versus
that
his
would be a good
replacement
soap
that he
opera.
trained.
That would be a
It
good soap
would,
opera.
and the NFL is scripted. And with that, that is all I have to say on week one of the NFL season.
Yeah, we've gone over what I thought we were going to do.
I had
I
to
want to
wake up
try
at
to keep
5 in the
these to
morning.
an hour going forward, but this is how our conversations go, folks. When Marcus and I get talking about almost anything, sports, politics, the weather, we'll wind up talking for hours and hours. So we don't want to keep you guys anymore. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed our back and forth. This is a little insight into the way my son and I relate. And when it comes to, it's nice to have this. Thanks for finally sitting down and doing this. I've been pestering you to do this for weeks leading up to the season, but I'm glad we sat down and did this because
No, yeah, for sure.
it's fun.
No, yeah. I mean, I can talk about sports. I've been talking about whether pretty much sports and music, and sometimes cars. Those are three things that I can go on and on about for hours.
Well,
So,
let's not keep these folks any longer.
all right.
Thanks for watching. Good luck in your fantasy football. Marcus, thanks for finally sitting down and doing this. Anybody out there you think is going to be the star, like a star fantasy player this week?
Ah,
Does Jackson Dart play this week?
if that's what it's tough. I would say my most excited for week 2 or 3, depending on when they make that decision, or whatever week they do, is Jackson Dart. That's who I want to see. I mean, I
If Russell Wilson comes out and throws an interception or two in the first half and they fall behind by 2 touchdowns, do they go to Dart?
I think you might as well, because they're not going to win the game regardless. Um, I think Jackson Dart has to get in at some point. And like I said, even if it's an experiment, even if they put him in, they're like, no, it's way too early. He's not ready to start. Fine, but you have to find that out first, because I think you also don't want him to get the wrong idea and sit there while they're terrible, and then be a situation of he'll play 2 good years, and then when it's time to make him the career quarterback, he's like, no, I'm going to go sign with Pittsburgh or whoever, who could have drafted him to start.
Right,
So
right. Well, let's see. Well, that gives you reason to tune back to see if any of the things we predicted or speculated on come true in week 2, and we'll discuss week 2 next time. Thanks, Marcus, for joining me. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day and enjoy Sunday.
right.